In a simple restaurant, a man with no money receives an unexpected act of kindness. What seemed like a simple, generous gesture soon turns into something much greater. Amid challenges, secrets, and twists, two lives become intertwined in an unexpected way. In the end, one choice will change everything forever. Before discovering this emotional story of overcoming obstacles and true love, don't forget to like and share. The night was particularly cold and damp in Chicago when Ryan Matthews left the imposing building that housed the headquarters of his technology company. At 38, he was the face behind Tech America, one of the largest companies in the sector in the country. Wearing an impeccable suit and carrying an Italian leather briefcase, Ryan said goodbye to the security guard and walked toward his luxury car parked in the reserved spot. While driving through the busy downtown streets, his mind was still on the negotiations from the meeting that had just ended. A multi-million-dollar contract was about to be closed, and Ryan couldn't contain his satisfaction at seeing his years of hard work yielding such impressive results. Distracted by his thoughts, he barely noticed when he entered a poorly lit street, known to be a less safe area of the city. Suddenly, his car was surrounded by three men on motorcycles. Before he could react, one of them broke the driver's side window with the butt of a gun. Ryan, stunned, was pulled from the vehicle and thrown to the ground. In a matter of minutes, the robbers took his car, cell phone, wallet, and even his custom-made Italian shoes. Left alone on the dark street, Ryan found himself in a situation he had never imagined. The successful businessman, accustomed to comfort and luxury, was now barefoot, without money and without means of communication. The light rain that was beginning to fall seemed to mock his misfortune. For a moment, he was paralyzed, unable to process what had just happened. His bare feet felt the cold of the wet asphalt, and his expensive suit, now dirty and torn, offered no protection against the icy wind that was blowing. Ryan looked around, desperately seeking some sign of help or a familiar face, but the street was deserted. He began to walk aimlessly, trying to orient himself in that part of the city he had never frequented. Each step was a painful reminder of his vulnerability. The streetlights cast unsettling shadows, and the distant sound of sirens made him cringe, fearing that the robbers might return. After what seemed like hours of walking, Ryan spotted a welcoming light coming from a small establishment on the corner. It was a modest restaurant, one of those that stays open late to serve night workers and night owls. With no other option, he approached hesitantly. Through the foggy window, he saw a few tables occupied by people who seemed oblivious to the world outside. The aroma of home-cooked food escaped through the half-open door, making his stomach growl, reminding him that he hadn't eaten since lunch. Gathering courage, Ryan pushed the door and entered. The bell above the entrance announced his arrival, and all eyes turned to him. It must have been quite a sight. A man in a torn suit, barefoot and soaked, standing at the entrance of a simple neighborhood restaurant. It was then that she appeared. Coming from behind the counter, a young woman of no more than 25 approached him. Her brown eyes conveyed a mixture of concern and curiosity. "My God, what happened to you, sir?" she asked, her soft voice contrasting with the buzz of the restaurant. Ryan opened his mouth to answer, but the words wouldn't come out. How could he explain that he, one of the richest and most influential men in the country, was there in that deplorable situation? The young woman, sensing his discomfort, gently led him to a table in the corner. "Come sit here, I'll bring you a towel to dry off and something hot to drink." Before Ryan could protest, she had already disappeared into the kitchen. Minutes later, she returned with a clean, if somewhat worn towel and a steaming cup of coffee. "Thank you," Ryan murmured, wrapping his hands around the hot cup, feeling the warmth spread through his cold fingers. I was robbed. They took everything." The young woman, whose name tag identified her as Emily, nodded understandingly. "I'm sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon around here. Are you hurt? Do you need me to call someone?" Ryan shook his head. "No, I'm fine, just a little lost." He looked at his ruined clothes and bare feet, feeling a wave of shame. "I can't pay for this right now, but I promise I'll come back to settle the bill." Emily smiled, a smile that lit up her tired face. Don't worry about that now. The important thing is that you're safe and warm. I'll bring you a plate of food, and we can think about the rest later. Before Ryan could protest, again she was already back in the kitchen. He sat there in that plastic chair, observing the movement in the restaurant. He saw workers in dirty uniforms, probably returning from night shifts, elderly couples sharing late meals, and laughing young people who seemed to have come from some party. Emily returned with a steaming plate of rice, beans, steak, and salad. The aroma made Ryan's stomach growl again. "Here you go," she said, placing the plate in front of him. "Eat while it's hot." Ryan looked at the plate, then at Emily, and felt something strange in his chest. Gratitude? Humility? He wasn't sure. "Why are you doing this for me?" he asked, his voice almost a whisper. Emily shrugged, her smile never wavering. "Because sometimes a little kindness is all we need, isn't it? Eat, it'll do you good." As Ryan began to eat, feeling the warmth of the food spread through his body, he couldn't help but think about how his life had changed in a matter of hours. There in that small corner restaurant, being cared for by a stranger who asked nothing in return, he felt more human than he had in years. The night progressed, and the other customers began to leave. Ryan remained at his table, watching Emily clean the other tables and organize the room. She occasionally glanced in his direction, as if to make sure he was okay. When the last customer left, Emily approached Ryan again. "We're closing now," she said softly. "Do you have somewhere to go?" Ryan hesitated. The truth was he didn't want to return to his luxury apartment. Not yet. There was something about this place, this experience, that intrigued him deeply. "Actually," he began, "I live a bit far from here. Would it be possible? Could I come back tomorrow to pay the bill and, well, to properly thank you?" Emily studied his face for a moment before nodding. "Sure, we'll be open. Now, let me see. If I can find you a pair of flip-flops. You can't go out there barefoot." As she disappeared into the back of the restaurant, Ryan stood up, feeling strangely invigorated. When Emily returned with a pair of old but clean flip-flops, he accepted them with a genuine smile. "Thank you very much, Emily, for everything. I'll be back tomorrow, I promise." She nodded, opening the door for him. "Be careful on your way." "Back, Mr. Ryan," he replied, realizing he hadn't introduced himself. "My name is Ryan." "Good night, Ryan," said Emily, her smile lighting up the night. "I hope to see you tomorrow." As Ryan walked down the street, now wearing shoes and with a full stomach, he felt different. The city seemed different, and somehow he knew his life would never be the same again. The next day, waking up in his luxurious penthouse, Ryan found himself thinking about the small restaurant and the waitress with the gentle smile. He could easily send a generous check to pay for the meal and the flip-flops, but something within him compelled him to return personally. Dressing simply in jeans and a t-shirt, Ryan took a taxi to the neighborhood where he had been robbed. Upon entering the restaurant, he was greeted by the same tinkling bell from the night before. Emily was there, serving coffee to an elderly couple. When their eyes met, her face lit up with a smile of recognition. "Ryan, you came back!" He nodded, feeling strangely nervous. "I promised I would, didn't I? I came to pay my debt and thank you again for your kindness." Emily led him to a table, the same one from the night before. "No need to thank me. I'm glad you're okay. Would you like some coffee?" Ryan accepted, and as Emily went to get his drink, he observed the environment with new eyes. During the day, the restaurant had a welcoming atmosphere, with natural light coming through the windows and the smell of fresh bread in the air. When she returned with the coffee, Ryan couldn't contain his curiosity. "Emily, why did you help a stranger like that last night?" She sat across from him, her brown eyes meeting his. "You know, Ryan, in this neighborhood, we learn that everyone needs help sometimes. Yesterday it was you, tomorrow it might be me. That's how we survive." Her words hit him deeply. In his world of high-level business, he rarely saw this kind of selfless solidarity. "Have you worked here long?" he asked, genuinely interested. Emily smiled, a touch of pride in her voice. "It's been 5 years. I started as a part-time waitress while finishing high school. Now I'm the night shift manager." Ryan was impressed by her dedication. "And do you like the work?" It has its ups and downs, she answered honestly. But I like taking care of people, making them feel welcome, and the salary helps me take care of my daughter and my mother. The mention of a daughter caught Ryan by surprise. Emily seemed so young. As if reading his thoughts, she continued. Lily is 4 years old. It wasn't planned, you know. But she's the light of my life. Ryan felt a wave of admiration for this young woman who faced so many challenges with grace and strength. And her father? He found himself asking, immediately regretting the intrusion. Emily shrugged, a flash of sadness crossing her face. Not in the picture, but that's okay, we manage. At that moment, Ryan made a decision. He wouldn't reveal who he really was, at least not yet. There was something about this experience, this genuine connection, that he didn't want to lose. Listen. Emily, he began, choosing his words carefully. I'd really like to repay your kindness somehow. Is there anything I can do to help? Maybe look after your daughter someday so you can have some free time. Emily looked at him with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. That's very kind of you, Ryan, but we barely know each other. Besides, I'm sure you have your own life, your own problems to solve. Ryan nodded, understanding her hesitation. You're right, I'm sorry if that sounded inappropriate, but what you did for me yesterday, well, it made me want to give back. Somehow. Emily smiled, touched by his sincerity. Look, how about we start like this? You can come back to eat here from time to time. It's always good to have regular customers. Ryan smiled back, feeling a strange excitement at the idea of becoming a regular at this small neighborhood restaurant. That sounds great. Can I come for dinner tomorrow? Sure, Emily replied, standing up as new customers entered. I'll be here. As she walked away to attend to the newcomers, Ryan sat there, holding his coffee cup, feeling more alive than he had felt in years. He knew he was on the verge of something new, something that could change his life forever. What had begun as a disastrous night had transformed into an unexpected opportunity. Ryan, the powerful CEO, was about to embark on a journey of self-discovery, guided by the kindness of a young single mother who could hardly imagine the impact she would have on his life. As he left the restaurant, promising himself to return, the next day Ryan couldn't help but smile. Life, he realized, had a funny way of surprising us when we least expected it, and he could hardly wait to see what fate had in store for him in this new chapter of his life. In the days that followed, Ryan found himself inexplicably drawn back to the small neighborhood restaurant. Each visit was an escape from his world of luxury and corporate responsibilities, an immersion into a reality he barely knew, but which fascinated him more and more. That Wednesday afternoon, Ryan left the office early, ignoring the curious looks from his secretary as she saw him exchanging his suit for more casual clothes. He took a taxi, giving the driver the now familiar address of the restaurant. Upon entering, the aroma of homemade seasonings enveloped him, bringing a sense of comfort that he didn't know he longed for. Emily was there, as always, her face lighting up with a smile when she saw him. "Good afternoon, Ryan. Usual table?" she asked, already moving toward the corner he had claimed as his own in recent days. "Hi, Emily," he replied, feeling an inexplicable warmth at hearing his name on her lips. "Yes, please." As he settled in, Ryan observed the movement in the restaurant. It was a quiet time between lunch and dinner, with only a few customers scattered around the room. Emily returned with a menu, but he already knew what he wanted. "The daily special, please, and a coffee." Emily nodded, writing down the order. "Coming right up. Oh, and Ryan?" She hesitated for a moment. "If it's not a bother, I'd like to talk to you about something when you have time." The seriousness in her voice caught him by surprise. "Sure, Emily. Did something happen?" She shook her head, forcing a smile. "Nothing. Serious? Don't worry. Just, well, we'll talk later, okay?" Ryan nodded, intrigued and slightly worried. As Emily walked away to attend to other customers, he found himself observing her more carefully. There was tension in her shoulders that he hadn't noticed before, and occasionally she glanced anxiously at the clock on the wall. When she returned with his order, Ryan couldn't contain his curiosity. "Emily, are you sure everything's okay? You seem worried." She sighed, looking around to make sure no customer needed immediate attention. Then to Ryan's surprise, she sat across from him. "It's Lily, my daughter," Emily began, her voice low. "She's had a fever since last night. My mother is looking after her, but—" She hesitated, biting her lip. "I should be there, you know. But I can't miss work. I can't risk losing this job." Ryan felt a pang in his chest. Emily's reality, so different from his own, hit him with full force. "Isn't there anyone who can cover your shift?" Emily shook her head. "The other waitress is off today, and the owner, well, he's not very understanding about these things." Ryan found himself overwhelmed by an irresistible desire to help. "Emily, go home. Be with your daughter." She looked at him surprised. "Ryan, I appreciate the concern, but I can't just leave. I need this job." "What if—" Ryan hesitated, knowing he was about to cross a line. "What if I talked to the owner? Maybe I could explain the situation, convince him to be more understanding." Emily seemed to consider the offer for a moment, but then shook her head. "You're very kind, Ryan, but Mr. Simmons isn't the type to listen to reason. Besides, I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable position." At that moment, as if summoned by the mention of his name, a middle-aged, stocky man with a severe expression came out of the kitchen, his eyes immediately fixed on Emily, sitting at the table with Ryan. "Emily!" His voice thundered through the restaurant. "Since when do we pay you to sit around chatting with customers?" Emily stood up quickly, her face pale. "I'm sorry, Mr. Simmons. I was just—" "I don't want to hear it," he interrupted, his voice laden with irritation. "Get back to work now, or you can consider yourself fired." Ryan watched the scene, feeling a mixture of anger and indignation growing inside him. Before he could contain himself, he stood up, facing Mr. Simmons. "Excuse me," Ryan began, his voice calm but firm, "but I think there's a misunderstanding. Here, it was I who asked Emily to sit down to discuss the menu. If there's anyone to blame, it's me." Mr. Simmons looked him up and down, clearly unimpressed. "And who are you to interfere in how I manage my business?" Ryan took a deep breath, aware that he was about to reveal more than he had intended. "My name is Ryan Matthews. I'm the CEO of Tech America, and as it happens, I have quite a bit of experience in business management." The name had the desired effect. Mr. Simmons's eyes widened in recognition, and his posture visibly changed. "Mr. Matthews," he stammered, I didn't know. Please accept my apologies for the inconvenience." Ryan seized the opening. "Mr. Simmons, I'd like to have a word with you in private, if possible. I believe we have some important matters to discuss." As the restaurant owner nervously nodded and led them to his office in the back, Ryan gave Emily a reassuring look, who was watching them with a mixture of confusion and concern. In the small and stuffy office, Ryan went straight to the point. "Mr. Simmons, I'm aware of Emily's situation. Her daughter is sick and she needs to go home to take care of her." Mr. Simmons frowned. "Mr. Matthews, with all due respect, I can't just let my employees leave in the middle of a shift. I have a business to run." Ryan nodded, understanding. "I completely understand. That's why I'm willing to make a proposal. Let Emily go home today with full pay, and I'll personally guarantee that your restaurant doesn't suffer any financial loss." The restaurant owner looked at him suspicious. "And why would you do that? What do you gain from it?" Ryan smiled, thinking about how to respond. The truth was that he didn't fully understand his own motivations. "Let's say I'm investing in human capital, Mr. Simmons. Happy and well-cared-for employees are the foundation of any successful business." After a few more minutes of negotiation, during which Ryan promised not only to cover Emily's salary for the day, but also to make a generous donation for improvements to the restaurant, Mr. Simmons finally yielded. When they left the office, Emily was anxiously waiting for them. Mr. Simmons, visibly calmer, addressed her. "Emily, you can go home to take care of your daughter. Your day will be fully paid." Emily's eyes filled with tears of relief and gratitude. "Thank you so much, Mr. Simmons. I don't know what to say." As she rushed to get her things, Ryan approached. "Go take care of Lily. Don't worry about anything here." Emily looked at him, a mixture of emotions on her face. "Ryan, how can I thank you?" He smiled gently. "No need to thank me. Just take good care of your daughter. As Emily hurriedly left the restaurant, Ryan found himself reflecting on the day's events. He had revealed his identity, something he hadn't planned to do so soon, but seeing the relief on Emily's face, he knew he had done the right thing. Returning. To his table, Ryan finished his meal, his mind full of thoughts about Emily, Lily, and the small world he had discovered in this neighborhood restaurant. He knew that things had changed irrevocably. His connection with Emily and this place was no longer just a passing curiosity. It had become something deeper, more meaningful. As he paid the bill, Ryan made a silent promise to himself. He would continue coming, continue exploring this new reality he had found, and somehow he would find a way to help Emily and Lily, without compromising the independence and dignity he so admired in her. Leaving the restaurant, Ryan took a deep breath of the night air. The world around him seemed different now, full of possibilities he had never considered before. With a smile on his lips, he began to walk, eager for what the future held. In the days that followed, Ryan found himself divided between two worlds. During the day, he continued to be the relentless CEO of Tech America, making decisions that affected thousands of employees and moved millions of dollars. But at night, he transformed into a regular customer of a small neighborhood restaurant, eager to see one face in particular. Emily had returned to work 2 days. Later, her daughter Lily already recovered from the fever. The gratitude in her eyes when she saw Ryan was palpable, but there was also a new hesitation in her posture, as if she no longer knew exactly how to behave around him now that she knew his true identity. On a particularly busy night, Ryan arrived at the restaurant and found Emily running from one side to the other, balancing plates and taking orders. She barely had time to throw a smile in his direction before disappearing. Into the kitchen, Ryan sat at his usual table, observing the organized chaos around him. Customers were chatting animatedly. The aroma of home-cooked food filled the air, and in the midst of it all, Emily danced her frantic dance of service. When she finally managed a moment to approach his table, Ryan noticed the fatigue in her eyes, although her smile remained genuine. "Good evening, Ryan," she said, wiping her forehead. "Sorry for the delay, it's crazy today." "Don't worry," he replied, smiling back. "Looks like you could use some extra help." Emily laughed, a sound that made Ryan's heart skip. "You have no idea. Our other waitress quit yesterday, so I'm doing the work of 2 people." Before Ryan could respond, a customer at a nearby table called for Emily's attention. She threw an apologetic look at Ryan before hurrying to attend. As he waited, an idea began to form in Ryan's mind. It was crazy, of course, completely out of his element, but the more he thought about it, the more right it felt. When Emily returned to take his order, Ryan surprised her. "Emily," he began, his voice serious, "what do you think about me helping tonight?" She looked at him, confused. "Help? What do you mean?" "As a waiter," Ryan explained, feeling strangely nervous. "I know I don't have experience, but I can learn quickly, and you clearly need an extra hand." Emily was speechless for a moment, clearly caught off guard. "Ryan, are you serious? You're a CEO, not a waiter." He shrugged, a smile playing on his lips. "Tonight I can be both. What do you say?" After a moment of hesitation, Emily nodded, a glint of amusement in her eyes. "All right, Mr. CEO, let's see what you're capable of, but don't say I didn't warn you." The next few minutes were a whirlwind. Ryan was taken to the back of the restaurant, where he received an apron and quick instructions on how to take orders and balance plates. Mr. Simmons, seeing the CEO of one of the largest technology companies in the country offering to work in his restaurant, seemed to be in a state of shock. When Ryan emerged, now dressed as a waiter, he noticed the curious looks from the other customers. Ignoring them, he focused on Emily, who was ready to guide him to his first table. "Remember," she whispered, "smile, be polite, and please try not to drop anything." Ryan nodded, feeling a mixture of nervousness and excitement that he hadn't experienced in years. He approached his first table, a middle-aged couple who looked at him with curiosity. "Good evening," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "My name is Ryan, and I'll be your server tonight. "What would you like to order?" To his surprise, Ryan discovered that there was something incredibly gratifying in directly serving people. Each smile of thanks, each "the food is delicious" made him feel fulfilled in a way that closing million-dollar deals had never achieved. Of course, there were challenging moments. He almost dropped a tray full of plates, confused some orders, and had to deal with a particularly demanding customer. But with each obstacle, Emily was there, guiding him with patience and an encouraging smile. As the night progressed, Ryan and Emily developed a surprising synchrony. They moved through the restaurant like a well-tuned team, anticipating each other's needs and those of the customers. In a moment of calm, while replenishing napkins, Emily looked at Ryan with an expression of admiration. "You're full of surprises. You know, I never imagined seeing a CEO cleaning tables and serving coffee." Ryan laughed, feeling lighter than he had felt in years. "To be honest, neither did I, but I'm enjoying it more than I expected." "And why?" Emily asked, genuinely curious. "What does a man like you gain from this?" Ryan paused for a moment, reflecting. "Perspective, I think, and a connection with people that I lost a long time ago." Before Emily could respond, they were interrupted by a shout coming from the kitchen. Running to see what had happened, they found the cook, Mr. Johnson, holding his hand with an expression of pain. "I cut my hand," he explained, showing a deep cut on his thumb. "I can't continue cooking like this." Panic was visible on Emily's face. "But we have at least 10 pending orders. What are we going to do?" Ryan, surprising everyone, including himself, stepped forward. "I can help in the kitchen." All eyes turned to him, incredulous. "You know how to cook?" Emily asked skeptically. Ryan smiled, remembering an almost forgotten time in his life. "My grandmother taught me when I was young. I never thought I'd use those skills again. But I guess today is the day." Without waiting for a response, Ryan entered the kitchen, washed his hands, and began to examine the pending orders. To his surprise, memories of his childhood in his grandmother's kitchen came back with full force. The smell of spices, the heat of the stove, everything seemed familiar and comforting. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Ryan cooked, Emily served, and somehow they managed to keep the restaurant running. The customers, far from complaining about the wait, seemed delighted with the story of the CEO who was cooking their dinners. When the last customer finally left and the doors were closed, Ryan and Emily collapsed into nearby chairs, exhausted, but strangely satisfied. "I can't believe we made it," Emily said, laughing. "You're amazing, you know that?" Ryan smiled, feeling more alive than he had felt in years. "We're amazing. We make a good team." There was a moment of silence between them, loaded with something that neither of them was ready to name. Finally, Emily spoke, her voice soft. "Ryan, why did you really do all this today?" He looked at her, feeling that the moment of truth had arrived. "Because since that first night when you helped me without expecting anything in return, I knew there was something special here, something I wanted to explore, understand." Emily nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving his. "And what did you discover?" Ryan took a deep breath. "I discovered that there's more to life than financial statements and board meetings. I discovered the joy of serving, of connecting with people, and..." He hesitated for a moment. "I discovered that I want to get to know you better, Emily, if you'll allow it." The silence that followed seemed to last an eternity. Then, slowly, a smile spread across Emily's face. "I think I'd like that," she said softly. In that moment, sitting in an empty restaurant after a chaotic night, Ryan felt he was on the threshold of something new and exciting. The world he knew was changing, evolving, and at the center of that change was the woman sitting across from him. As they began to clean the restaurant, talking and laughing about the events of the night, Ryan knew that his life would never be the same. And for the first time in a long time, he was eager to see what the future held. The weeks that followed brought a remarkable change to Ryan's life. His days continued to be filled with business meetings and corporate decisions, but his nights belonged to the small neighborhood restaurant, and the woman who had captured his attention in a way he had never imagined possible. Ryan and Emily had established a comfortable routine. He appeared at the restaurant almost every night, sometimes as a customer, other times offering to help during the busiest moments. Mr. Simmons, initially skeptical, now seemed to see Ryan's presence as a blessing in disguise. After all, it wasn't every day that a millionaire CEO offered to wash dishes or wait tables. On a particularly quiet night, Ryan arrived at the restaurant to find Emily sitting alone at a table, flipping through a thick book with an expression of intense concentration. "Good evening," he said softly, not wanting to startle her. "Studying." Emily looked up, a tired but genuine smile lighting up her face. "Hi, Ryan. Yes, I'm trying to. Anatomy isn't exactly light reading." Ryan pulled up a chair, sitting beside her. "Anatomy? Are you taking a course?" Emily hesitated for a moment before responding. "Actually, I'm trying to prepare for the nursing school entrance exam. It's an old dream." Ryan felt a wave of admiration course through his body. Here she was, working full-time, caring for a young daughter, and still finding time to pursue her dreams. "That's amazing, Emily," he said, his voice full of sincerity. "Why did you never mention it before?" She shrugged, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. "I don't know. It seems kind of silly, you know, a 25-year-old single mother dreaming of becoming a nurse." Ryan frowned. "Silly? Not at all. It's inspiring." "You're incredible, you know that." Emily's blush intensified and she looked away, clearly uncomfortable with the praise. "It's not that simple. I have Lily to take care of, bills to pay. Sometimes it seems like an impossible dream." Ryan felt a sudden urgency to help, to do something to make this dream a reality. But he also knew he needed to be careful. Emily was proud and independent. Offering direct financial help could offend her. "What if," he began, choosing his words carefully, "what if I could help in some way? Not with money," he quickly added, seeing Emily's expression, "but maybe with tutoring. I know some people in the medical field who could offer guidance." Emily looked at him, a mixture of hope and skepticism in her eyes. "You would do that for me?" Ryan smiled, feeling his heart warm with the gratitude in her voice. "Of course I would. We're friends, aren't we?" There was a pause, a moment of silence loaded with something unsaid. Then, to Ryan's surprise, Emily leaned in and briefly hugged him. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't know how much this means to me." When she pulled away, Ryan immediately missed the warmth of her embrace. He cleared his throat, trying to ignore the accelerated rhythm of his heart. "So," he said, forcing a light tone, "tell me more about this dream of becoming a nurse." Emily's eyes lit up, and she began to speak with an enthusiasm that Ryan had rarely seen in her. She talked about her desire to help people, about how the experience of caring for her sick mother had awakened this vocation, about the challenges of studying while working and raising a daughter. Ryan listened attentively, fascinated not just by Emily's words, but by the passion with which she spoke. It was as if a new facet of her was revealing itself before his eyes, and he found himself even more enchanted. As they talked, the restaurant slowly came to life around them. Customers came and went, dishes clinked in the kitchen, but Ryan and Emily remained in their own world, absorbed in conversation. It was only when Mr. Simmons loudly cleared his throat that they realized how much time had passed. "Emily," the restaurant owner said, his voice a mixture of amusement and exasperation, "I know Mr. Matthews is an important customer, but we have other tables to attend to." Emily blushed deeply, standing up hurriedly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Simmons, I lost track of time." Ryan also stood up, feeling strangely guilty. "It's my fault, Mr. Simmons. I distracted her with our conversation." Mr. Simmons looked from one to the other, a knowing smile on his face. It's all right, just try not to make a habit of it, yes?" As Emily rushed to attend to the other tables, Ryan found himself reflecting on what had just happened. He had never lost track of time like that, had never felt so absorbed in a conversation. Watching Emily work, moving gracefully between the tables, smiling and chatting with customers, Ryan felt something change within him. It wasn't just admiration or attraction, it was something deeper, more meaningful. That night, as he drove back to his luxurious apartment, Ryan realized he was hopelessly in love with Emily. The realization hit him with full force, leaving him simultaneously excited and terrified. What would he do now? How could he, a billionaire CEO, build a relationship with a waitress and single mother? Would there be room in his complicated life for true love? Ryan didn't have the answers to these questions, but of one thing he was certain. He could not, did not want to, imagine his life without Emily in it. In the days that followed, Ryan found himself torn between his desire to be close to Emily and his fear of complicating her life even further. He continued visiting the restaurant, helping when he could, but always maintaining a certain emotional distance. Emily, in turn, seemed to flourish with Ryan's support. She studied with renewed vigor, taking advantage of every free moment to pore over her anatomy and physiology books. Ryan kept his promise, introducing her to some contacts in the medical field who offered valuable guidance. One night, about a month after their conversation about Emily's dreams, Ryan arrived at the restaurant to find her radiant with happiness. "Ryan!" she exclaimed as soon as she saw him, running toward him with a paper in her hand. "I did it! I passed the entrance exam!" Without thinking, Ryan enveloped her in a tight hug, spinning her in the air in celebration. When he put her back on the ground, their faces were inches apart, and for a moment the world seemed to stop. It was Emily who broke the moment, taking a step back with a shy smile. "Thank you," she said softly. "I couldn't have done it without your help." Ryan felt his heart tighten with the gratitude in her voice. "You did this on your own, Emily. I just gave a little push." That night, as they celebrated Emily's achievement with a special meal prepared by Mr. Johnson, Ryan found himself imagining a future where moments like this were common. A future where he and Emily shared not just meals, but a life. But as the night progressed and reality began to reassert itself, Ryan was reminded of the obstacles that still separated them. His world of high-level business, so different from Emily's simple life, her responsibilities as a mother, society's expectations. As he said goodbye to Emily that night, promising to help her prepare for the start of classes, Ryan knew he was approaching a decision point. He would have to choose between the comfort of his old life and the promise of something new and exciting with Emily. What he didn't know was that fate was about to force his hand, bringing challenges that would test not only his love for Emily, but also everything he believed about himself and his place in the world. Fall arrived in Chicago, bringing with it a cool breeze and the promise of change. For Emily, these changes came in the form of a white lab coat and a backpack full of heavy books. Her first day at nursing school had arrived, and with it, a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Ryan, determined to support her on this new journey, offered to drive her to the university. On the way, he couldn't help but notice Emily's nervousness, her fingers drumming restlessly in her lap. "Is everything okay?" he asked softly, giving her a concerned look. Emily took a deep breath before answering. "Just nervous, I guess." "What if I'm not good enough? What if I can't balance studies with work and Lily?" Ryan parked the car in front of the university and turned to face her. "Emily, look at me," he said gently. When their eyes met, he continued, "You are the most determined and capable person I've ever met. You're going to make it, I'm sure of." A small smile formed on Emily's lips. "Thank you, Ryan. I don't know what I would do without you." For a moment they sat there looking at each other, the air between them charged with unspoken emotion. It was Emily who finally broke the silence. "Well, I guess it's time to face the academic world," she said, opening the car door. Ryan watched her walk toward the imposing university building, her small but determined figure against the backdrop of animated students. He felt a mixture of pride and concern. Pride for how much she had accomplished, and concern for the challenges that were yet to come. In the weeks that followed, Emily's routine became even busier. She divided her time between classes at the university, work at the restaurant, and caring for Lily. Ryan, seeing her growing exhaustion, decided to take action. One night, while Emily served tables at the restaurant, clearly exhausted after A long day of classes, Ryan approached Mr. Simmons. "Mr. Simmons," he began, his voice serious, "can I speak with you privately?" The restaurant owner nodded, leading Ryan to his small office in the back. Once inside, Ryan got straight to the point. "I'm concerned about Emily," he said. "She's trying too hard, trying to balance work, studies, and family. I fear she might get sick if she continues at this pace." Mr. Simmons sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. "I've noticed too. But what can I do? I need her here." Ryan took a deep breath before making his proposal. "What if I hired someone to help? Someone to cover part of Emily's shifts, allowing her to have more time to study and rest?" Mr. Simmons looked at Ryan with a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "That's very generous of you, Mr. Matthews. But why? Why do you thank her so much?" Ryan felt his heart race. It was the first time someone had directly questioned him about his feelings for Emily. "Because," he hesitated for a moment before deciding to be honest, "because I care about her. More than I should, perhaps." Mr. Simmons studied him for a long moment before slowly nodding. "I understand. Well, if you're willing to help, I won't refuse, but let me be clear. Emily is like a daughter to me. If your intentions aren't honorable—" "I would never hurt her," Ryan interrupted, his voice firm. "I only want what's best for her." With the agreement sealed, Ryan left the office feeling simultaneously relieved and apprehensive. He knew Emily would be grateful for the help, but he also feared that she might see this as charity or worse, as an attempt to control her life. His fears proved partially true when he told Emily about the arrangement. Initially, she was furious. "You had no right," she exclaimed, her eyes flashing with anger. "I can take care of myself, Ryan. I don't need you to solve my problems." Ryan felt his heart sink. "Emily, I just wanted to help. You're wearing yourself out and I worry about you." The anger in Emily's eyes slowly gave way to something softer, more vulnerable. "Why?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "Why? Do you care so much?" Ryan knew that the moment of truth had arrived. He stepped forward, taking Emily's hands in his. "Because I love you, Emily," he said simply. "I love you more than I ever thought possible to love someone." The silence that followed seemed to last an eternity. Emily looked at him, her eyes wide with surprise. Then slowly, a smile began to form on her lips. "I love you too, you fool," she finally said, her voice choked with emotion. "For so long." In that moment, all the barriers between them seemed to crumble. Ryan pulled Emily into his arms, and when their lips met, it was as if the world around them had disappeared. The kiss was interrupted by the sound of applause. They separated, embarrassed, to find the restaurant customers watching them with smiles on their faces. Mr. Simmons was at the door of his office, a knowing smile on his wrinkled face. In the days that followed, Ryan and Emily navigated this new phase of their relationship with a mixture of joy and caution. They knew there were still many challenges ahead, the difference in their lifestyles, Emily's responsibilities as a mother and student, the pressures of Ryan's corporate world. But for now, they were happy to simply be together. Ryan began to divide his time between the office and the restaurant, helping where he could, and enjoying every moment with Emily. He even began to spend more time with Lily, discovering an unexpected affection for the smart, energetic girl. However, not everything was rosy. As Ryan and Emily's relationship became more serious, rumors began to emerge in the corporate world. Some questioned whether the CEO of Tech America was losing focus. Others speculated about his frequent visits to a small neighborhood restaurant. Ryan tried to ignore the whispers and sidelong glances in his business meetings, but he knew he couldn't keep his personal life separate from his professional life for much longer. He feared the moment when he would have to introduce Emily to his world, a world that could be cruel and judgmental. Emily, in turn, faced her own challenges. Some of her college classmates had discovered her relationship with Ryan, and rumors spread quickly. She found herself the target of envious glances and malicious comments, some suggesting she was using Ryan for his money. One night, after a particularly difficult day at school, Emily collapsed in Ryan's arms, crying. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing," she sobbed, "if I'm not complicating everyone's life too much." Ryan held her tight, feeling his heart break, with the pain in her voice. "Emily, look at me," he said softly. When she raised her eyes, he continued, "You are the best thing that has ever happened in my life. Don't let anyone make you doubt that, not even for a second." That night, as he held Emily in his arms, Ryan made a decision. He would not allow the outside world to dictate the terms of their relationship. It was time to face the challenges, head on, to show the world that his love for Emily was real and lasting. What Ryan didn't know was that fate was about to throw an even greater challenge in his path. A challenge that would test not only his love for Emily, but also everything he believed about himself and his place in the world. As autumn gave way to winter, Ryan and Emily prepared, unknowingly, for the storm that was to come. A storm that would threaten to destroy everything they had built together, but which also had the potential to strengthen their love in a way that neither could imagine. Winter arrived in Chicago with unusual ferocity, bringing with it not only the biting cold, but also a series of events that would test Ryan and Emily's love like never before. It all began on a cold July morning. Ryan was in his office at Tech America, reviewing some important documents when his secretary entered looking nervous. "Mr. Matthews," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "there's a reporter from Business and Power magazine out here. He insists on speaking with you." Ryan frowned. Normally, interviews were scheduled in advance through the public relations department. "Did he say what it's about?" The secretary hesitated before answering. "He mentioned something about your relationship with a waitress." Ryan's heart froze. He knew this moment would come eventually, but he didn't expect it to be so soon. "Send him in," he said, trying to maintain his composure. The reporter, a middle-aged man with a sly smile, entered the room. "Mr. Matthews," he began without preamble, "rumors are circulating that the CEO of Tech America is in a serious relationship with a waitress from a neighborhood restaurant. Would you care to comment?" Ryan took a deep breath, carefully thinking about his response. "My personal life is exactly that, personal. I don't see how it affects my ability to lead Tech America." The reporter, however, was not satisfied. "But Mr. Matthews, the shareholders are concerned. There are those who say you're losing focus, that this distraction could negatively affect the company." Ryan felt anger growing inside him. "Emily is not a distraction," he said, his voice firm. "She is the woman I love, and if anyone thinks that makes me less capable of leading this company, then perhaps they don't know me as well as they think." The reporter smiled as if he had just received an early Christmas present. "So you confirm the relationship? Interesting. And how is Miss Emily, isn't it? How is she handling the pressure of dating one of the most powerful men in the country?" Ryan realized his mistake too late. He had confirmed the relationship and even revealed Emily's name. "This interview is over," he said, standing up. "Please leave my office." But the damage was already done. In the days that followed, the story exploded in the media. Newspapers, magazines, and TV shows talked about nothing else. The CEO and the waitress? A modern fairy tale? Or a recipe for disaster? Blared the headlines. For Emily, the impact was immediate and devastating. Reporters began to surround the restaurant, trying to take photos and ask questions. Her college classmates looked at her with a mixture of envy and distrust. Even some regular customers of the restaurant began to treat her differently, as if she had suddenly become a celebrity in their midst. One night, after a particularly difficult day, Emily arrived home to find a group of paparazzi waiting outside her small apartment. Frightened and overwhelmed, she called Ryan in panic. "I can't take it anymore," she sobbed on the phone. "They won't leave us alone. Lily is scared, my mother is stressed. Ryan, what are we going to do?" Ryan felt his heart break hearing the desperation in Emily's voice. He knew he needed to do something, and fast. "Pack a bag for you and Lily," he said, making a sudden decision. "I'll pick you up in half an hour. You're going to stay at my apartment for now." The temporary move to Ryan's apartment brought momentary relief, but also new challenges. Emily felt out of place in the luxurious environment, and Lily, although initially charmed by the novelty, soon began to miss home. Meanwhile, in the corporate world, Ryan's situation was becoming increasingly tense. Some board members began to openly question his leadership, suggesting that his affair with a waitress was tarnishing the company's image. In a particularly heated meeting, one of the most senior directors confronted Ryan directly. "You need to choose, Matthews," he said, his voice cold. "Either end this ridiculous relationship or we seriously consider your position as CEO." Ryan felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. The idea of choosing between Emily and the company he had built from scratch was unthinkable, but he knew he couldn't continue like this, with his personal and professional life in constant conflict. That night, he returned home feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. Emily was waiting for him in the living room, her face a mask of concern. "What happened?" she asked softly, seeing Ryan's somber expression. He sat beside her, taking her hands in his. "Emily," he began, his voice trembling, "I love you more than I ever thought possible to love someone. But I can't continue seeing you suffer like this because of me." Emily's eyes widened in understanding. You're breaking up with me." Ryan felt tears forming in his own eyes. "I don't want to. God knows I don't want to, but maybe it's better this way. You could go back to your normal life without all this media madness. And you would keep your precious company," Emily completed, her voice bitter. "I understand. It's not like that," Ryan protested weakly, but he knew his words sounded empty. Emily stood up, silent tears running down her face. "You know, Ryan, when we met, I thought you were different from other rich and powerful men. I thought you really cared. But in the end, you're just like all of them, always choosing power and money over love." With those words, she left the room, leaving Ryan alone with his thoughts and regrets. In the hours that followed, as he listened to Emily and Lily packing their things in the guest room, Ryan found himself at a crossroads. On one side was the company he had dedicated his life to building. On the other, the woman who had shown him the true meaning of love and happiness. As the night progressed, Ryan found himself reviewing every moment he had shared with Emily. The first meeting at Hue, the restaurant, the nights working side by side, the mutual support, the laughter, the shared dreams. And then, a particular memory hit him with full force. The promise he had made to himself that first night, to never lose sight of what really mattered in life. It was at that moment that Ryan realized he was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. He stood up abruptly, determined to fix things before it was too late. Running to the guest room, he found Emily finishing packing a suitcase, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "Emily," he said, his voice urgent, "I made a terrible mistake. Please forgive me. I love you and I don't want to live without you. I don't care about the company, about what others think, about any of that. I only care about you and Lily." Emily looked at him, a mixture of hope and caution in her eyes. "And what happened to choosing your company?" Ryan shook his head, a sad smile on his lips. "I realize that no company in the world is worth it if the price is losing you. If I have to choose, I choose you. Always you." For a tense moment, Emily was silent, studying Ryan's face. Then slowly she took a step toward him. "Are you sure? Because I can't go through this again, Ryan. I can't have my heart broken again." Ryan pulled her into his arms, holding her as if his life depended on it. "I'm more sure of this than anything else in my life. I love you, Emily. You and Lily are my family now. And I'll fight the whole world if I have to be with you." That night, as they held each other, Ryan and Emily knew that the battle was far from over. There would be more challenges ahead, more obstacles to overcome, but now they would face it all together, strengthened by a love that had been tested and proven true. What they didn't know was that the greatest challenge of all was yet to come. A challenge that would test not only their love, but also everything they believed about family, loyalty, and the true meaning of success. The days following Ryan and Emily's reconciliation were a roller coaster of emotions and events. Ryan's decision to prioritize his relationship over corporate pressures sent shockwaves through the business world. The morning after his decision, Ryan called a press conference. Before a room full of journalists eager for information, he made an announcement that no one expected. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice firm despite the nervousness he felt, "I am here today to clarify some rumors and make an important announcement. Yes, I am in a serious relationship with Emily Wilson. She is an extraordinary woman, a dedicated mother, nursing student, and yes, a waitress, and I am proud to stand by her side." A murmur ran through the room, but Ryan continued. "I also want to announce that I will be temporarily stepping away from the position of CEO of Tech America. I believe the company deserves a fully focused leader, and at this moment, my priority is my family." The news hit like a bomb. Tech America's stock plummeted in the hours following the announcement, and the company's board entered an emergency session to discuss the future of the company. For Emily, seeing Ryan give up everything for her was simultaneously exhilarating and frightening. "Are you sure this is what you want?" she asked that night as they watched the news covering the announcement. Ryan pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. You and Lily are my priority now." However, the reality of their new situation soon began to make itself felt. With Ryan temporarily out of Tech America, they had to make adjustments to their lifestyle. They moved to a smaller apartment, closer to Emily's school and Lily's school. Ryan, accustomed to leading one of the largest companies in the country, now found himself facing completely new challenges. He began to spend more time with Lily, taking her to school and helping her with homework. He discovered an unexpected passion for cooking, preparing dinners for Emily when she returned exhausted from classes and work at the restaurant. For Emily, seeing Ryan adapt so well to domestic life was a revelation. "Are you really happy like this?" she asked one night as he washed the dinner dishes. Ryan smiled, drying his hands on the apron. "You know, I never thought I'd say this, but yes. I'm happier than I ever was running Tech America. However, not everything was rosy. The press continued to pursue them, albeit with less intensity. Some friends from Ryan's corporate world withdrew, seeing his decision as a kind of betrayal to the club of the rich and powerful. It was in this scenario of adaptation and challenges that unexpected news came to further shake the couple's life. During a routine checkup, Emily discovered she was pregnant. The news caught both by surprise. Sitting in the waiting room of the doctor's office, they looked at each other, a mixture of shock and joy on their faces. "A baby," Emily whispered, her hand unconsciously resting on her still flat belly. "Ryan, we're having a baby." Ryan felt. A wave of emotions flooded him, joy, fear, excitement all mixed together. "We can do this," he said, more to himself than to Emily. "Together we can do anything." The pregnancy brought a new dynamic to their relationship. Ryan became even more protective, while Emily struggled to balance studies, work, and now pregnancy. Lily, upon learning she would be an older sister, oscillated between excitement and jealousy. It was during this period that Ryan received an unexpected call. It was Victor, his former vice president at Tech America. "Ryan," Victor's voice sounded urgent on the phone, "we need to talk. The company is facing serious problems. The new CEO is making questionable decisions, and some investors are threatening to withdraw their support." Ryan felt a tightness in his chest. Despite having stepped away, Tech America was still his creation, his legacy. "What do you suggest, Victor?" "Come back," Victor replied simply. "The company needs you. The board is willing to negotiate terms that allow you to balance your personal and professional life." After hanging up the phone, Ryan sat in silence for a long time, lost in thoughts. When Emily came home that night, she found him still in the same position. "What happened?" she asked, concern evident in her voice. Ryan looked at her, his eyes full of conflict. "Tech America is in trouble. They want me to come back." Emily felt her heart tighten. "And what do you want to do?" Ryan stood up, walking to the window. "I don't know. Part of me wants to go back, save the company I built, but another part—" He turned to look at Emily, his eyes fixing on her slightly rounded belly. "Another part doesn't want to miss any moment of this, of us." Emily approached him, taking his hands in hers. "Ryan, you built Tech America. It's part of who you are. If you want to go back, I understand. We can make this work. Ryan pulled her into a tight hug. You're amazing, you know that? But I'm not going to make any decision without us talking a lot about it. We're a team now, remember? In the days that followed, Ryan and Emily had long conversations, weighing the pros and cons of each decision. They discussed schedules, commitments, and how they could keep their family life as a priority, even with the demands of a large corporation. Finally, after much reflection, Ryan made his decision. He would return to Tech America, but with conditions. He would demand flexibility to be present for important family moments, and he would insist on more family-friendly policies for all company employees. When Ryan returned to Tech America, he was greeted with a mixture of relief and skepticism. Some doubted he could balance the demands of the company with his new family life. Others were simply happy to have back the leader who had brought the company to success. For Emily, seeing Ryan return to the corporate world was a challenge. She feared that the pressure and long work hours might affect them again, but to her surprise, Ryan seemed to have found a new balance. He made sure to be home for dinner whenever possible, actively participated in prenatal consultations, and even managed to find time to help Emily study for her nursing exams. One night, as they lay in bed, Emily with her head resting on Ryan's chest, she whispered, "You know, when we met that night at the restaurant, I never imagined we would be here, that we would have all this." Ryan smiled, his hand gently caressing Emily's belly. "Life has a funny way of surprising us, doesn't it? But I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world." As they fell asleep, both felt a deep gratitude for the path they had traveled together. They had faced challenges, overcome obstacles, and in the process, they had created something beautiful and lasting. But fate still had one last surprise in store for them, her surprise that would test their strength as a couple and as a family in a way that neither could have predicted. Summer arrived in Chicago with a wave of intense heat, coinciding with the last trimester of Emily's pregnancy. As the city sweltered, under the scorching sun, the couple's life continued at an accelerated but harmonious pace. Ryan had managed to implement significant changes at Tech America, promoting policies of balance between work and personal life that benefited not only him but all employees. Emily, in turn, balanced her nursing studies with preparations for the baby's arrival, always with Ryan's unconditional support and Lily's growing enthusiasm. It was on a particularly hot afternoon in July that the unexpected happened. Emily was at home, organizing the baby's room with Lily's help, when she felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. Initially, she tried to ignore it, thinking it was just the baby's movements. But when the pain intensified and she noticed light bleeding, panic set in. With trembling hands, Emily called Ryan. "Ryan," she said, her voice broken by pain. "Something's wrong, the baby." Ryan felt his heart freeze. "Don't move," he instructed, already running out of his office. "I'm on my way, I'll call an ambulance." The minutes that followed were a blur of sirens, worried voices, and hospital corridors. Emily was quickly taken to the emergency room, leaving Ryan in the hallway holding a scared and confused Lily. "Daddy," Lily asked, her voice small and fearful, "are Mommy and the baby going to be okay?" Ryan hugged the girl tightly, wishing he could promise that everything would be okay. But knowing he couldn't make promises he wasn't sure he could keep. "The doctors are taking care of them, sweetheart. We have to be strong and wait." The hours that followed were the longest of Ryan's life. He alternated between trying to calm Lily, calling family and friends, and begging for information from every nurse or doctor who passed by. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, a doctor approached with a grave expression. "Mr. Matthews?" Ryan jumped up, his heart pounding in his chest. "Yes, that's me. How are Emily and the baby?" The doctor hesitated for a moment before answering. "Mr. Matthews, your wife suffered what we call a placental abruption. We had to perform an emergency cesarean to save the baby." Ryan felt his legs weaken. "And are they okay?" "The baby was born premature at 32 weeks. He's in the NICU, but he's strong and responding well to treatment." The doctor paused, and Ryan felt that the worst was yet to come. As for Mrs. Emily, She lost a lot of blood during the procedure. We're doing everything we can, but the next 24 hours will be crucial. Ryan felt as if the world was crumbling around him. The idea of losing Emily was unbearable, and his son, so small and fragile, fighting for his life. "Can I see them?" he asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. The doctor nodded. "You can see your son in the NICU. As for Mrs. Emily, she's in the ICU. As soon as she's stable, we'll allow brief visits." The hours that followed were a whirlwind of emotions for Ryan. Seeing his son, so small and fragile in the incubator, connected to tubes and monitors, was an overwhelming experience. He placed his hand on the glass, wishing he could touch and comfort the little being who was bravely fighting for his life. "Hello, champ," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Daddy's here. You need to be strong, okay? Mommy and I are waiting for you." After spending time with the baby, Ryan went to see Emily in the ICU. His heart tightened when he saw her so pale and motionless, surrounded by machines that monitored each beat of her heart. "Emily," he said softly, holding her hand, "I know you can hear me. I need you to fight, my love. Our son needs you. I need you. Please don't leave us." The days that followed were an emotional roller coaster. The baby, whom they decided to name Michael, showed signs of improvement each day. Emily, on the other hand, remained in critical condition, fighting an infection that developed after surgery. Ryan found himself divided between the hospital and home, trying to care for Lily, visit Michael in the NICU, and be by Emily's side whenever possible. He barely slept, barely ate, consumed by worry and fear of losing everything he loved most. It was during this dark period that Ryan discovered the true strength of the community that he and Emily had built around them. Mr. Simmons and the restaurant staff took turns caring for Lily. Emily's college classmates organized prayer vigils. Even some Tech America executives, who had previously been skeptical about their relationship, offered support and help. One night, as Ryan sat beside Emily's bed, holding her hand and telling her about Michael's progress, he felt a slight squeeze of his fingers. His eyes widened with hope. "Emily?" he called softly. "Can you hear me?" Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Emily's eyes began to open. Ryan felt his heart race with joy and relief. "Hi," she whispered, her voice hoarse from disuse. Ryan couldn't contain his tears. "Welcome back, my love," he said, gently kissing her hand. In the days that followed, Emily gradually improved. As soon as she was strong enough, her first question was about the baby. Ryan, with a radiant smile, showed her photos of Michael, telling her how he was growing and getting stronger each day. Finally, 2 weeks after the dramatic birth, Emily was able to hold Michael in her arms for the first time. When the nurse placed the small bundle in her arms, Emily felt a wave of love so intense it almost took her breath away. "Hello, my little warrior," she whispered, tears of joy streaming down her face. Ryan was at her side, one arm around Emily and the other holding Lily, who looked curiously at her new little brother. In that moment, looking at his family reunited, Ryan felt an overwhelming gratitude. They had faced the worst and come out stronger. The path ahead would still be challenging, with Emily's recovery and the special care that Michael would need, but Ryan knew that together they could overcome any obstacle. As the family shared this precious moment, the Chicago sun was setting. On the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. It was as if nature itself was celebrating with them, marking the end of a difficult chapter and the beginning of a new journey full of hope and love. The months following Michael's dramatic birth were a roller coaster of emotions and challenges for Ryan and Emily. Adapting to the new reality of a family with 4 members, including a premature baby with special needs, tested the strength and resilience of the couple like never before. Emily, still recovering from surgery and postpartum infection, found herself divided between her own recovery, caring for Michael, and the attention that Lily needed. Ryan, in turn, juggled the responsibilities of Tech America with his role as a father and supportive partner. An exhausting routine was established. Sleepless nights feeding Michael, frequent visits to doctors and specialists, and constant concern. about the baby's development became part of the family's daily life. Lily, although loving with her brother, sometimes felt left out, demanding extra attention at already stressful moments. It was during this turbulent period that Ryan and Emily discovered the true strength of their love and partnership. In the most difficult moments, when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm them, they supported each other, taking turns in childcare and offering words of encouragement to one another. One night, after finally managing to put Michael to sleep after hours of crying, Emily found Ryan in the living room, looking thoughtfully out the window. "A penny for your thoughts," she said softly, approaching him. Ryan turned, a tired smile on his face. "I was thinking about how our life has changed. About how I've changed." Emily nodded, understanding perfectly. "Sometimes I wonder if you miss your old life. You know, before all this craziness." Ryan pulled her close, wrapping her in a tight hug. "Not for a second," he whispered. "Yes, it's hard. Yes, there are days when I feel completely overwhelmed, but then I look at you, at Lily and Michael, and I know I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world." Emily felt tears forming in her eyes. Even with all the sleepless nights? With all the dirty diapers and medical bills? Ryan laughed softly. "Especially because of that. Because each difficult moment makes us stronger, brings us closer together." As they shared this moment of intimacy, Michael's cry echoed through the apartment. Both sighed, exchanging resigned smiles before heading to the baby's room. The weeks turned into months, and slowly a new normalcy began to establish itself. Michael, against all expectations, was getting stronger each day. His doctor visits, once a constant source of anxiety, began to bring more good news than concerns. Emily, determined not to give up on her dreams, resumed her nursing studies, now with a new perspective and motivation. Ryan, inspired by his family's resilience, implemented even more significant changes at Tech America, prioritizing the well-being of employees and their families. It was during this period of adaptation and growth that an unexpected opportunity arose. The nursing school where Emily studied was organizing an outreach project to bring basic healthcare to underprivileged communities in the outskirts of Chicago. When Emily mentioned the project during dinner, Ryan's eyes lit up with an idea. "What if Tech America got involved in this?" he suggested enthusiastically. "We could provide resources, technology, maybe even develop an app to facilitate access to health information." Emily looked at him, surprised and moved. "You would do that?" Ryan nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "Of course I would. It's a chance to make a difference, to use our resources for something truly important." In the weeks that followed, Ryan and Emily worked tirelessly on the project. Tech America provided tablets and smartphones for nursing students to use in the field, and a team of developers created an app that allowed registration and monitoring of patients in remote areas. The project was a resounding success. It not only brought essential medical care to communities that rarely had access to it, but also inspired other entrepreneurs and corporations to get involved in similar initiatives. For Ryan, seeing the tangible impact that their actions were having on people's lives was a transformative experience. He realized that true success wasn't just in profits or market recognition, but in the ability to make a difference in people's lives. Emily, in turn, found a new passion in her fieldwork. Her personal experiences with Michael made her especially empathetic toward mothers of children with special needs, and she became a staunch advocate for improvements in the public health system. One day, as they were returning from a visit to one of the communities served by the project, Emily turned to Ryan in the car. "You know," she began, a smile playing on her lips, "when we met that night at the restaurant, I never imagined we would be here, doing all this." Ryan took her hand, intertwining their fingers. "Life has a funny way of surprising us, doesn't it? But I wouldn't change a thing." "Not even the sleepless nights?" Emily teased. "Not even that," Ryan laughed, "because each challenge brought us here, and here is exactly where I want to be." As the car wound through the streets of Chicago, heading home where Lily and Michael were waiting for them, Ryan and Emily felt a deep sense of fulfillment and purpose. They had faced immense challenges, overcome obstacles that seemed insurmountable, and in the process, not only strengthened their love, but also found a way to make the world a little better. The sun was setting on the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, as if nature itself was celebrating the path they had traveled. And as the day came to an end, Ryan and Emily knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, stronger and more united than ever. 5 years had passed since that fateful night when Ryan, soaked and without a penny in his pocket, entered the small neighborhood restaurant where Emily worked. 5 years of ups and downs, of laughter and tears, of challenges overcome and dreams realized. It was a sunny Saturday morning in Chicago. Ryan woke up early as usual, but this time not to check emails or participate in video conferences. Today was a special day, a day of celebration. Silently, so as not to wake Emily, who was still sleeping peacefully beside him, Ryan got up and went to the kitchen. With a smile on his face, he began to prepare a special breakfast, remembering how his cooking skills, once rusty, had improved considerably over the past few years. As the coffee maker bubbled and the smell of fresh bread filled the air, Ryan heard light footsteps approaching. Turning, he saw Lily, now 9 years old, entering the kitchen hand in hand with Michael, who had just turned 5. "Good morning, Daddy," Lily exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement. "Can we help surprise Mommy?" Ryan smiled, bending down to hug them both. "Of course you can. Michael, how about you help put the flowers in the vase? And Lily, you can help me set the table." As the children busied themselves with their tasks, Ryan couldn't help but reflect on how much their lives had changed. Lily, once a shy and somewhat insecure girl, was now a confident and loving child, always ready to help her younger brother. Michael, despite his difficult start in life, had become a vibrant and curious little boy, exceeding all the doctor's expectations. Minutes later, Emily appeared at the kitchen door, her eyes still sleepy but a radiant smile on her face as she saw her family gathered. "What's all this?" she asked, laughing when Michael ran to hug her legs. "Happy graduation." "Anniversary, Mommy?" Lily exclaimed, proudly presenting the perfectly set table. Emily's eyes filled with tears of emotion. Today marked exactly 1 year since she had graduated from nursing school, fulfilling a dream that once seemed impossible. Ryan approached, enveloping her in a warm hug. "Happy anniversary, my love. We're so proud of you." As the family sat down to enjoy breakfast, conversation flowed naturally, full of laughter and plans for the future. Emily talked about her work at the community clinic that she and Ryan had helped found, an extension of the project they started years ago. Ryan shared the latest news about the expansion of Tech America's social responsibility program, which now served as a model for other companies around the world. After breakfast, while the children played in the living room, Ryan pulled Emily to the balcony, where they had a panoramic view of the city they loved so much. "You know," he began, intertwining his fingers with hers, "sometimes I still find myself thinking about that night at the restaurant. How a simple act of kindness changed our lives forever." Emily smiled, leaning against him. "Who would have thought that that soaked businessman would become the love of my life and the best father I could wish for my children?" Ryan laughed, softly. "And who would have thought that that waitress with the gentle smile would teach me the true meaning of success and happiness?" For a moment, they were silent, absorbing the view and each other's presence. Then, Ryan turned to face Emily, his face serious but his eyes shining with love. "Emily," he began, his voice slightly trembling, "these last 5 years have been the most challenging and at the same time, the most rewarding of my life. You've shown me a world I didn't even know existed, taught me what really matters in life." He paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. "I know we've been through so much together, that we've already built a wonderful life and family, but there's something we haven't done yet, something I would like to do today, if you agree." Emily's eyes widened in understanding when Ryan knelt before her, taking a small velvet box from his pocket. "Emily Wilson," he said, opening the box to reveal a simple but elegant ring. "Would you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Of making official what our hearts have known for so long?" For a moment, Emily was speechless, tears of joy streaming down her face. Then, with a choked sob, she answered, "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Ryan slid the ring onto her finger, standing up to wrap her in a tight hug. Their lips met in a passionate kiss, sealing the promise of a future together. At that moment, as if sensing their parents' joy, Lily and Michael came running to the balcony, filling the air with their shouts of joy upon discovering the news. As the family celebrated, hugging and laughing, Ryan looked around and felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude. He had everything he could wish for: a partner who loved him unconditionally, wonderful children, a career that allowed him to make a difference in the world, and a heart full of purpose and joy. The sun shone brightly over Chicago, as if blessing this new chapter in their lives. Ryan knew there would still be challenges ahead, that life would continue to test them in unexpected ways, but he also knew that together they could face anything. As the morning turned to afternoon, the Matthews-Wilson family continued their celebration, making plans for the future, reminiscing about the past, and savoring every moment of the present. And at the heart of it all was love. The love that began with a simple act of kindness in a neighborhood restaurant, and that had now transformed into a force capable of changing not only their lives, but the world around them. Dear listeners, we hope that Ryan and Emily's journey has touched your hearts as much as it has touched ours. This story reminds us that true love can be born in the most unexpected places, and that with courage and determination, we can overcome any obstacle. If you were moved by this narrative, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next equally captivating stories. Leave your like and share your thoughts in the comments below. We've prepared a special playlist with stories of love and overcoming that you can find by clicking the link to your left. Remember, each day is an opportunity for a new beginning, for an act of kindness that can change a life. Who knows? Your own story of love and transformation might be waiting just around the corner in a small neighborhood restaurant.